The 207 runs, but there is like, well, you can't see behind because of the smoke. Dear. And the gearbox, wow. Oh, can we keep it running? Can we keep it running? We can. Yes. Oh, look at that. It's like a national defence weapon. Dear. She's not well, is she? We need to fix this girl up. Ooh. Oh, hello. Oh, the brakes don't work either. Does anything on this car work? I think this is having a rough life. No oil changes, no coolant changes I expect. She's been keyed. Poor girl. 67,000 miles. Oh, weirdly enough, engine management light's on. Oh, that's strange. Oh dear. Okay, let's turn her off. Poor thing. So that's the last time this engine will run that badly. Oh, I might need to switch there too. Oh well, this car's got a sense of humour. No, hang on. What do you need? Hang on. You need a spanner.
I do not need a spanner to undo that. I need a big old ratchet.
Oh, because you are one.
I'm a big old spanner. I'll take that. I'll take that one on.
No, you definitely want it now. Hang on. Oh, do you need a spanner? Here, let me put a camera on it. How we're fools. Why wasn't I taking tools around the workshop years ago with a camera on them? It's so useful.
You'd have been like the prime apprentice doing that.
So, yeah, gearbox is gone on this. About 3,000 miles off the clutch went in, so my prediction is they put the wrong oil in. This had a cam at 67,000 miles. It's done 67,000 miles. It was done a month ago. So I also wonder what happened there. Especially as there's no coolant in it. And it was blue, and it should be red. But our prediction, without taking the head off, is which cylinders do we think the head gasket might have failed between? Shall we have a look?
Comment below.
Cylinder 4, dry. Cylinder 1, dry. Cylinder 2 and 3, mildly moist. Actually, well, they're dripping, so I think it's between cylinders 2 and 3. We shall find out shortly. After the break, cue adverts. Your milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like,
oh yeah, Gustav, it's great!
My head gasket's blown. Oh, nice.
Bit grim, isn't it?
So, investigation into the 207 head gasket. Garage had said, I'm not naming any names, I don't actually know them, but basically it was hydrolocked and something was broken in the head, or I imagine it could have hydrolocked because it's a fair old blow. It's about as bad as you see them go, to be fair. Milkshake I've seen worse, but to actually basically steam cleaned the inlet valves is pretty impressive. And the same cylinder, the bore is mint, so clean in there. We'll have a bit of a proper look, but you might have already spotted. Yeah, we did the milkshake job. It's nice, isn't it? I've seen like that just with like condensated ones, mind. It's not as bad as I expected, but they didn't exactly run it for ages. So we can see a bit of a blow there. It's not like a break, but in my limited experience of head gaskets, that's a failure. And if we flip him over, we can actually see kind of the burn through it, which is yummy. And these are wet liners, so there's actually a gap between the liners. This is a fibre gasket, so we're replacing this with an MLS gasket for short, so a multi-layer steel gasket. And you're very less likely to get that. It's obviously the original gasket. So Max, right off, yeah?
The engine?
Or should we just have the head skim and put a gasket on it and it'll be fine?
I don't know, there's always a risk, isn't there?
There's always a risk.
Unless you can verify that the head and the block aren't going to leak once you put a new gasket in it.
Unfortunately, they've been washed. If you look at the actual,
it's going to be a gamble either way, isn't it? I mean, you can try it because it's cheap, isn't it?
Where's the light? Let's have a little light.
If you were just going to put head gasket and head bolts, and you can reuse the other gasket.
Oh, that's so wet. That is crazy, isn't it? The concern is the hatching. Is there enough hatching in the bore? They've been washed so clean.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Still got some hatching. That's fine.
It's got some scoring. That's what it's got. When you finger on that, your fingernail will catch it.
No, it has got a bit of scoring. You're right.
Too bad, not the worst I've seen.
No. We got dot 5, 4, 5 weight 30, WD-40, parts cleaner 95. This is the 95 version because it's 95 octane. So that'll do nicely. We'll leave that to soak. So head is back from the machine shop. Really pleased with that. He's done a brilliant job. It's the first time I've used this guy, and wow, he's done a great job. Really nice and smooth. And he said, interestingly enough, it wasn't done properly before. Now I didn't go see him personally. I'd like to have known where it was mismatched, but my guessing there was something up with the way it skimmed the middle here, because this is where it failed between the two cylinders, particularly into this one, which you can see is a little bit cleaner. So it's a great job, and Max kindly picked it up and organised it, so that's great. So now I have a head guy, which is awesome, because my other guy's in Burton, which is like 2 hours away, and I have to courier the stuff there. So this is Swindon. It's about 50 minutes away from me. Ludlow Head something or other. Great guy. Great price as well. So that saves my cousin a bit of money. So today we're going to build this head up. We've got the parts as mentioned in my cleaner 95, octane 95. We'll have to clean these up as well. As you can see, the old MILKSHAKE still is about. So what I'm going to do is pull out the valve stem seals. And then we'll just, the seats are actually pretty darn good. So I'll just clean them. They do them better at factory than I would do them, even with a lot of patience. So we'll just clean them up. Clean up the valves, particularly the exhaust a bit coked up. We'll just clean up the valves briefly. But it's a low mileage engine actually. It's just had a bad head gasket done before, I believe. So let's get that done. Valve stems in. Clean up all the surfaces, all the mating surfaces for all the new gaskets, and then give it a good clean, make sure it's all washed, wash all this down, wash all the parts down, have them ready in order, and hopefully we'll build up this head today. That would be nice. Not before tea break, but before lunch would be good. So can you spot the difference? I hope so. A lot of the time with rebuilding these engines and heads when their gaskets go is cleaning time. And you can't leave all this gunk there or just quickly wipe it down. It will just ruin it, which I reckon is why this is a borderline engine. There's 67,000 miles. Clearly more evidence that the head has been done before. The actual cam bearings aren't ideal, and there is some pitting actually on a couple of lobes, which again it's borderline. And I would reckon this is a combination of using cheap oil, and then perhaps on the previous, because this head gasket went and it just went, and it pretty much engine hasn't been run not more than sort of 10 minutes, and you don't get that sort of pitting from that, and it's milky, but it's not like proper milkshake. Most of the water was going out of the combustion chamber. So I think when it's happened before, perhaps it was on its way out for a while, and so the quality of oil dropped even further, or it just hadn't had oil changes for a long time. As I say, that pitting is from that. It's from sitting with a bit of moisture in it on the head for ages. It also could have sat for a while somewhere, and again, the same problem. The rollers on the rockers are nice and big though, so I don't think we're going to have any issues. Can't actually really feel it, you can only see it, so I think that'll clean up fine, but it is borderline. It just shows evidence of it being a part before, I think. This is exactly, obviously, what you want to see in your rocker covers, or valve covers, whatever you want to call them. It's just when you think, oh, I've cleaned everything up, just got to do the valves, and then I remembered these. And all my life. That is frankly disgusting. Right then, everything is cleaned. Those two. Everything is in its appropriate buckets. We've got assembly lube ready, and the next job is to actually start fitting parts. So first set of parts going to go on is a set of valve stem seals. This is what the new ones look like. Very nice. So they just tap on the appropriate locations. We use a socket, just clunk, and you hear the note change as you whack it on. And when the note changes to a nice ping, you know you've seated them nicely. So let's do that now. Right, so what you just saw was probably the hardest job, really. Not necessarily skill-wise, it's just a tough job, getting all the valve springs in, especially because these are angled valves and my valve compressor just wouldn't fit, so we've got it on the old press. So all our valves and springs and collets and all that are in. It's all clean, this head. Surface is ready to go on, so they've just cleaned their deck as well, and all the pistons out, all sucked out with a vacuum pump, all the grottiness around it, because each of the liners sits in coolant, so we've sucked all that out and then washed it through and sucked it out again. We're going to drop the pan, but once we've got it hanging up in the air, because it's obviously a bit tricky right now, it's sat on it. So that's clean. We have a head box, we've checked the right ones. We have instructions from Payne about how they want them to be done. So we're going to whack the two little pegs in. We've got the timing up to top dead centre and just rolled it back 90 degrees. So we'll put it on, put the cams in, line them up, time them up, and then we'll bring the pistons up to top dead centre, put the pin in, and then we can do the timing. But for today, I think just as long as we can get the head on and we can get it torqued up, we'll be happy. 20 newton meters, and then I think it's 120 degrees, 120 degrees. So we need to get our angle gauge out and we'll do that. Gearbox is on. So obviously clutch, flywheel all done on. Starter on. We tapped all the threads because they were a bit gnarled up. Engine stand problems. We haven't finished the top end yet. Show you why. With further inspection on the cams, particularly the inlet one, which is the variable one, I believe, I'd seen some pitting and I was like, you know what, it's just marginal, but it'll be okay. And then I had a close look, particularly these two end lobes, which I'm suspect that, as this one is sort of at the same position, that either the oil drained off and the moisture built up on it, or they might be in a little valley where there was some water underneath the oil, because they've pitted really badly. Let's try and get that focus on. Come on, baby. Let's go for manual so we can actually see what we're doing. So hopefully you can just see that there. That pitting. That is really bad. It's not just a little bit, it's really bad. You might get away with putting this on the lathe and a bit of a grind up, a little bit of a flash with emery, as the hydraulic tappets might just take up a couple of thou. But we don't have a lathe. So, there's a couple on eBay, that's obviously holding us back. Spoke to Steve, our Pug Parts hero in Gloucester, and he is just about to pull these engines out, so I'm going to go and sort of assist with that process by ripping the top end off it and see what the cams are like. If the cams are good, then Tom and Anna, you have some new cams. Let's hope they are, and then we can carry on today. So in the meantime, I've got that clutch and that done. I'm a bit stuck now, so I'm going to turn to the Kev project. So somewhere, click on the clickety click. I'm going to rip the gearbox off this and go from there with this project. Most of the time I wouldn't drop the sump when I'm just doing a head gasket, but what was coming out and the design of these, it sits just slightly back, and the design of the sump means that basically, even though I drained it for a long time, look at that in the bottom, and there's about, I don't know, about 200 or 300 mil I've already poured out of there, and I was like, oh, quickly just show you. Lovely. It's a nice clean sump. Very nice. Chocolate milkshake. Oh, speaking of brown things, time for a cup of tea. Ah, the slurp of love. There she is. Ready, clean to go. Inlet side on the left side. Exhaust on front or right side as you look at it. All pretty clean. I mean, it's not spotless, but it's pretty clean compared to what it was. You couldn't actually tell these bits were silver before. We've had the oil filter out, cleaned all that passageway down here because it's a sort of remote filter because they bring the exhaust right against it. All done. Gearbox is on. New gearbox oil seals, shaft seals are in. So those shaft seals are ready to go. So I've only got to do one little job, or two little jobs. I'm just going to blast out the engine bay because it's filthy, make my life a bit easier and nicer. And the little cat that comes down, it's cracked at the bottom. Noticed that as soon as it started because all the smoke was coming out under the engine from the cat, and there was an anti-pollution fault on, which is probably because the second lambda's picking up something odd. So we'll get that welded up, it's at the bottom, and then this can drop in the car, basically. So I think that's Monday. Good night all, have a nice weekend, and I will see you whenever you watch the next bit of the video, which is the same video, so I'll see you in about 1 second of a crossover. So engine bay's been cleaned up. Okay, just a quick pressure wash, perfect opportunity of this. So that's great because this is all covered in mud and fluids and schmutz. So that's cleaned up nicely. So that's great. It's a bit nice to work on now. The only thing I haven't cleaned, I realise, is the alternator. That's absolutely chock-a-block with oil, but we'll get to that. This one is hanging this morning before coffee break. I'm meant to be doing some hedge cutting, but it's been chucking it down with rain. So let's get on with this now, and I'll do some hedge cutting when it gets sunny. We've put some oil in it, and we've cranked over on the starter for 30 seconds or so. Probably more than that, actually. And just to get the oil pressure up so that I don't forget later, because first start video. Let's see what happens. The camera's battery's all dying, so that's ideal. No coolant in it, but we'll sort that out later. Quick end of day update. It runs. We pulled the plugs back out. We've added an engine oil flush, and I'm just waiting on a radiator, plugs, air filter. Some obviously the breather got back into it, and it's pretty disgusting. So we want to fix that up. In the meantime, not covered on this, but we've done new brake discs and pads on the front. We've just changed the clutch fluid, and we're just in the throes of doing the brake fluid as well. It was pretty grotty. A bottle is like £7, so we've sucked out the old fluid and we're starting to flush it now. So end of the day there, that's good. We're also going to then just check over the rear brakes, put fresh coolant in it, get up to temperature, then drop the oil, put fresh oil filter in it, and this baby should be good to go for some life yet. Hopefully we've saved another one. Old radiator, new radiator. Yummy. She's in, folks. Radiator is in. Need to put the coolanty, liquidy, magicy stuff in here. New plugs in there. Filter. Button it down. And then give it a test drive. Get it up to temperature. Because we haven't done that. So best do that. Because, you know, might be best to check that it actually doesn't overheat. I hope not. Okay everyone, she's running coolant in her radiator and her. Still waiting for an air filter, but to get at the bleed screws. There's one on the side of the head there, there's one at the back, airbox out. Fans intermittently kicking in. It's about the hottest day, like 30 degrees as you can expect. And she's holding steady, she was just sat in the sun at 90 degrees on the coolant, so that's good. I'm going to try and sort that out today. You can see there's two issues. One, engine management lights on, and two, she's idling at 1500 RPM, which is crazy. I mean, it's okay for like cold, but she's warm. She's also smoking just a little bit and still smelly. I reckon those factors might be combined. She's obviously had some very cheap, nasty lambdas stuck on it at some point, and the cat was pretty soaked in all sorts of smuts from the head gasket going, so obviously the exhaust is kind of full of that. So combination of find out what the codes are, clear them, see how it runs. We might be looking at some lambdas just to try and make it run a bit sweeter than this. I mean, 1500 RPM idle is a bit crazy. Oil be draining overnight, so hopefully she's dried out nice, and she'd had a flush in her and got up to heat and temperature and drop back down again. Oh, these are so tight. So, oh my life, brilliant. These are a rubbish design. People complain about the old design. It was brilliant. You just popped it off. Yep, can't undo it. Brilliant. So we'll check the levels then. Now it's cold. Put nice, fully synthetic, high quality oil in it and a high quality oil filter. This is where people go wrong with these engines. They put the wrong oil, or they don't change it. They just don't service them. Nice clean air filter, because that one's all grotty. So let's get that done before the train goes in, get this all filled up and go. Drink. Well, that shows you how hot it is today. If anyone's wondering, it's Friday the 31st of July, and in the sun outside it's about 35 degrees, 36, something like that, and in here in the barn it's only a few less than that, and this oil is really thin already. This is what difference it is. Bit of heat on this oil. Right. Stupid beeper. Okay people, well that is essentially it. Can't forget the missing touch, of course. There we go. We better clean that off because that's grotty. And here's my top Piggy trick to make stuff look nice. A little bit of WD-40, never hurt no one. Especially a little bit of engine plastics, also smells epic. No, it won't set on fire before you say, but it will make it look nice. Just has that little touch. Unfortunately it's missing the battery cover. At least there's a train going by to ruin the end of the video. How's that then? Looks sweet! So, we're just going to give it a cleaner polish, maybe I'll show you afterwards, and it's ready to hand back. Winning! Spot on. Thanks for watching this little special edition. Not really a how-to, but keeping another 207 on the road, which is difficult for me to do if I'm honest, because I hate these cars, and I hate those engines. But at least it's another Peugeot on the road. there's something for it, innit? And it hasn't cost much. We've done gearbox, head rebuild, all the gaskets, front brakes, brake fluid, coolant, clutch fluid, obviously shaft seals, gearbox oil, engine oil change twice, air filter, plugs. Cost about 250 quid in parts. So that's a win, isn't it? Thanks for watching. Hit a like, would you? Hit subscribe and all that. That'd be great. Otherwise, check out my other videos. And have a fab day. Hope it's cooler where you are than it is here. Ta-da all. Way down the rabbit hole now with this 207. But you kind of get to a certain point, you're like, well, there's no return now. So took it for a test drive, bed the brakes in, and this coil spring is broken. So we fixed that. Well, it was broken. We've repaired that. So that's good. And then I thought, you know what, it's so grotty inside. So some of the plastics need to wipe down, just again, and I had my grotty hands in here. But we found some nicer mats, and we really give them a good scrub and a wash. And then we've actually wet backed the seats. And basically removed, 15 years worth of human DNA. It was revolting. So that's cool. We're going to just flick these out. I don't know what's in here. Old makeup. Clean those. And the other switch is broken. We've ordered a new one of those. You can get aftermarket ones for like 15 quid. And we'll give it a wipe down. Wash the windows. And maybe we'll wash the outside. But something that's bugging me are these lights. They are awful. It's tricky to see on camera. But basically, you can see the haze on the top. And they're awful. Now, permanent solution, rub them back, get them clear coated, stick them in an oven. But I haven't got a big oven, no clear coat. So we're going to give them a little bit of a rub back and a polish. See if we can bing them up a little bit. So they look a little bit better. This one's worse and hasn't come out so good. But they look better. Just need to give the rest of the car a clean now. Ideally, actually, these lenses are so bad that they need probably replacing. Clear coat might help them, but you can see the cracking's pretty deep in. I don't think this car had ever been waxed in its life since it was new.